When Clint Eastwood walks into a small restaurant, Mia can't believe her eyes. She's just an ordinary waitress, but an encounter with the Hollywood legend changes everything. A mysterious letter, a $10,000 check, and meaningful words put Mia in front of a choice that could change her life and her son's. Will she have the courage to take this chance? Don't miss this inspiring story. Like, share, and subscribe to discover the special story of Clint Eastwood today. Mia adjusted her apron, stealing a glance at the clock above the diner's counter. Nearly 7 p.m. The dinner rush was finally winding down, and she exhaled, allowing herself a brief moment of relief. Then, the bell above the door chimed. At first, she barely noticed, just another customer passing through. But when she looked up, her breath caught. A man stepped inside with a quiet confidence that seemed to shift the very air in the room. He wore a simple button-up shirt and jeans, his face partially hidden beneath the low brim of his hat. Mia's pulse quickened. She knew that stance, that presence. Clint Eastwood. The Clint Eastwood. Her reaction wasn't giddy excitement, but something deeper. A quiet recognition, almost reverence. She had spent countless evenings watching his films with her late father, listening to his admiration for the man who embodied grit and legend. And now, here he was, larger than life, yet utterly real. But there was no time to get lost in nostalgia. She was here to serve, not to be starstruck. Clint settled into a corner booth, and Mia knew it was her turn to serve him. She approached the booth with a notepad in hand, taking a deep breath before speaking. As she stopped beside him, she couldn't help but notice the details. His hands, worn but steady, resting on the table. His piercing eyes, observing everything around him, giving nothing away. "Good evening," she said, her voice steady, despite the flutter in her chest. "What can I get started for you?" Clint glanced at the menu briefly before setting it aside and ordering simply, "Just a coffee and a burger. Medium rare, no onions." It was a simple order, but something about it felt profound. There was no rush, no demand for special treatment. Just a man, looking for a meal. As Mia took the order to the counter, her thoughts raced. Why was Clint Eastwood here, in a tiny diner off the highway? He could easily afford the finest restaurants in California. Yet here he was, sipping water from a chipped glass, waiting for a simple burger. As she delivered his order, something in the air shifted again. Clint wasn't just here to eat. There was a quiet contemplation about him, a weight to his presence that lingered in the diner long after the meal had been served. After Clint finished his meal, he gestured for Mia to come over. She wiped her hands on her apron and walked over, trying to keep her composure. "Everything all right?" she asked, her voice steady. "Perfect," he said with a small smile. "That was one of the best burgers I've had in a long time." Mia chuckled, surprised by the compliment. "I'll let the cook know. He'll appreciate that." But Clint didn't say anything right away. He simply looked at her with an expression that felt different from any customer she had ever had. It was as though he was seeing something in her that no one else had ever noticed. "You've got a good energy about you," he said, his voice calm. "You remind me of someone I knew a long time ago." Mia blinked, unsure of how to respond. She had never considered herself special. Why would Clint Eastwood, a man who had seen more of the world than she ever could, see anything remarkable in her? But there it was, a simple acknowledgement that sent a ripple through her. He wasn't just another celebrity. He was a man who had taken the time to see her, to recognize something in her that even she had almost forgotten about. Clint reached into his pocket with the kind of deliberate ease that made every movement feel intentional. He pulled out a few bills, crisp and worn at the edges, and set them on the table. But it wasn't the money that caught Mia's eye. It was the neatly folded piece of paper he placed beside it. He tapped it once with his fingers, then met her gaze with a look so measured, so steady, it sent a shiver down her spine. "Keep the change," he said, his voice low and calm. Then, after a brief pause, He added, "And read this when you get a moment." Mia's breath hitched. Something about the way he said it, the quiet weight behind his words, made her chest tighten. She barely managed to whisper a thank you, her voice so soft she wasn't sure if he even heard. Then the bell above the diner's door jingled. She blinked, and just like that, he was gone. For a long moment, she stood rooted to the spot, staring at the empty booth as if it could somehow explain what had just happened. Her eyes drifted to the folded paper, resting so innocently beside the bills, yet feeling anything but ordinary. A simple note shouldn't make her heart race. A few scribbled words shouldn't feel this significant. And yet, they did. What could it possibly say? Why had Clint been so insistent? Swallowing hard, Mia forced herself to tuck the paper into her apron pocket, her fingers pressing against the fabric as if she could absorb its meaning without opening it. But she couldn't read it yet. Not here, not now. Whatever truth it held, whatever reason Clint Eastwood had for leaving it behind, she wouldn't know until her shift was over. And until then, all she could do was wait. When Mia finally had a moment to herself, she sat down in the back room and unfolded the note. The words inside took her breath away. "Dear Mia, I don't know much about you, but in the short time I've been here, I've seen something rare. True resilience. Watching how you manage this place with grace, even under pressure, is a reminder of how much strength exists in the everyday heroes of this world. You remind me of someone very dear to me, someone who taught me the value of hard work and kindness. I don't know your story, but I can see in your eyes that you've carried more than your share of burdens. That's why I want to do something. No strings attached. I'm leaving a small gesture for you to use however you see fit, whether it's for your child, your future, or simply a moment of rest. I hope it brings you some peace. People like you deserve to be seen, and I see you." And inside the note, there was a check for $10,000. Mia's hands shook as she read the words. The check was a life-changing amount, but it was Clint's words that resonated most deeply. For the first time in a long time, someone had noticed her, not just as a waitress, but as a person. Someone had seen her struggles, her strength, and her resilience, and they had chosen to help, not out of obligation, but out of genuine care. Mia's hands trembled as she pulled out her phone and dialed Tasha's number. The moment she heard her best friend's familiar voice, the dam inside her nearly broke. "Tash, can you come to the diner, now?" There was no hesitation. "I'm on my way." By the time Tasha arrived, Mia was still gripping the note as if letting go might make it vanish. She barely registered the hum of the diner's fluorescent lights, the muffled conversations around her. Everything had faded into the background. Wordlessly, she handed the paper over. Tasha's eyes skimmed the page, her brows knitting together before suddenly shooting up. Then she reached the check and sucked in a sharp breath. "This is insane, Mia," she whispered, glancing between the paper and her friend. "Do you have any idea what this could mean for you and Jordan?" Mia nodded slowly, but her throat felt tight, her voice barely escaping. "I know, but it doesn't feel real. Why would someone like him care about someone like me?" Tasha exhaled, then took Mia's hands in hers, squeezing them tight. "Because he saw you, Mia, the way I see you. Strong, determined. Someone who never gives up, no matter how hard life gets. People like you don't go unnoticed." Something cracked open inside Mia at those words. The doubt, the disbelief that had been woven into her for so long, started to fray. Maybe this wasn't some cosmic accident. Maybe she wasn't just lucky. Maybe she had earned this. And now, standing at the edge of something that could change everything, she had a choice to make. As Mia sat at her kitchen table later that night, she felt the weight of the note and check in her hands. It wasn't just about the money. It was about what this gift represented. For years, Mia had struggled, always just trying to get by. But now, she had a chance to change the trajectory of her life. She could give Jordan the future he deserved, and maybe, just maybe, she could begin to pursue the dreams she had put on hold for so long. Her thoughts raced as she considered the possibilities: paying off bills, repairing their home, and maybe even taking a class to become an accountant. Clint's words, "People like you deserve to be seen," kept echoing in her mind. Maybe it was time to believe in herself again. The next morning, Mia made a decision. She would use the money to invest in herself and her future. She called Tasha to make sure Jordan was settled at her place, then drove to the bank to deposit the check. At the bank, the teller was polite, but Mia could sense the curiosity in their eyes as she deposited the large sum. The teller congratulated her, not knowing the full story behind the check, but Mia's heart swelled with a mixture of gratitude and nervous excitement. This money wasn't just a gift. It was a lifeline, a way to break free from the cycle she had been in for so long. That afternoon, Mia enrolled in evening college classes. She decided to start small, taking just one accounting class to begin with. It would be hard to balance with her full-time job, but the idea of a better future for her son and herself pushed her forward. It was a risk, but for the first time in years, Mia felt hope. She was no longer just surviving. She was stepping towards something more, something she had once dreamed of, but thought was impossible. As the weeks went by, balancing school, work, and caring for Jordan was exhausting. Mia would wake up early to work at the diner, rush to her classes in the evening, and try to spend time with Jordan whenever she could. Some nights, after studying and working, she would collapse into bed, her body aching from the strain. There were moments when she wondered if it was all worth it. But every time she saw Jordan's smiling face, every time she remembered Clint's words, she found the strength to continue. It wasn't easy, but nothing worth having ever was. Slowly, Mia began to see the fruits of her labor. Her grades were improving, and she started to feel more confident in her abilities. The knowledge she was gaining opened new doors for her, doors that led to a career, stability, and the ability to provide a better life for Jordan. As the years passed, Mia's life slowly transformed. She finished her degree, found a job in a local accounting firm, and was able to give Jordan the education he deserved. The money Clint had given her had provided the foundation, but it was her determination and the small steps she had taken every day that truly changed the course of her life. Mia never forgot the gesture Clint had shown her. She kept the note in a frame in her living room, a constant reminder of that one simple act of kindness that had turned her world upside down. And every time she looked at it, she was reminded of how much one person's belief in her had made all the difference. One day, as she was helping a struggling single mother at her firm, Mia found herself telling her story. She spoke about how a stranger's kindness had changed everything for her, and in that moment, she realized that she had been given more than just money or an opportunity. She had been given the courage to take the first step, to believe in herself, and to give back when the time was right. Clint Eastwood had given her a second chance, and Mia had promised herself that she would pay it forward when the opportunity arose. She had already started, helping the single mother, mentoring other young women at the firm, and offering advice to others who were facing similar struggles. In this way, Mia kept the ripple of kindness alive, passing it on to others just as it had been passed to her. Looking back, Mia understood that Clint's gift was more than just a financial one. It was a symbol of humanity's ability to lift one another up, especially when the world often feels indifferent. His kindness reminded her that despite the hardships of life, there were still people out there who saw her, who cared. It wasn't about fame or wealth. It was about recognizing the struggles that everyone faces and choosing to make a difference when you can. Through the years, Mia often reflected on the night Clint had come into her diner. That encounter had been brief, but it had left a lasting impact. It wasn't just a moment of good fortune. It was a reminder that even the smallest acts of kindness could change someone's life forever. Clint Eastwood, in his quiet, unassuming way, had helped her see that she was worthy of a better life, that her struggles didn't define her, and that it was never too late to change the course of her future. Mia's journey wasn't one of instant success or fame. It was a steady climb, one step at a time, through the hardships and obstacles that life threw at her. But it was a journey that led her to a place of peace, fulfillment, and purpose. And as she looked at Jordan, now a young adult with dreams of his own, Mia knew that every sacrifice, every struggle, and every moment of kindness had been worth it. A life can change with just one moment, one act of kindness, or one person who believes in you, even when you don't believe in yourself. Clint Eastwood didn't just leave Mia some money. He left a powerful message. You deserve to be seen. You deserve a chance to rise. But what's more important is how Mia uses that chance. She doesn't just keep it for herself. She spreads it, helping others who are struggling, just like she did. This is the biggest lesson. Kindness shouldn't stop at one person. When you receive, find a way to give back. Mia's journey isn't over. She still has dreams, new challenges ahead. And who knows, one day, she might change someone's life, just like Clint did for her.